Welcome to part 12 of Vegas Pro Essentials. As you start developing effects, I'd like to point out that you're not limited by applying effects on a single track of video. Depending what you're intending to create, you can stack multiple layers of video, graphics, and images to build a composite. Let's build a picture-in-picture composite with a variety of effects. The first step is to set up a background for the base of the effect. Use an existing event in the timeline or drag in some media. I'll go ahead and trim the event to around 5 seconds. Now, when you start editing, Vegas Pro uses a workflow of video and audio tracks to manage your events in the timeline. Most edits start off with one track for video and one for audio. But as the timeline develops, you'll be adding more tracks as you add music, titles, composites, etc. Looking in the current timeline, we only have one video track. The small film icon represents a video track, and the music icon represents an audio track. To add another video track to the timeline, you can right-click anywhere and add a new video track. Next, we'll add media to the second video track, and this will eventually be composited over the background. I'll trim it down to start half a second after the background and end half a second before the background. An important point I'd like to make is that the track numbering tells you how many tracks are in the timeline, and the way events are stacked will change how the final video looks. So right now, you see the media on the topmost event and not the background. You can temporarily mute tracks with the M button to see everything underneath. But the vertical order of the video tracks dictates what's on top. The order of whole video tracks can be rearranged by dragging the tracks, and you'll see how the video preview updates with the topmost track. To create the composite, we'll use a video event effects. Switch to the video effects tab and search for the picture-in-picture effect. Drag and drop the default preset onto the top event. This creates a picture-in-picture effect, and you move the video in the video preview or using the controls on the left side. Working with multiple event effects is very fluid and freeform. You can easily move between events and effects. For example, let's color and blur the background. You could use the video effects window again, but instead click the effects button of the background event. Let's add a sepia effect and a Gaussian blur effect using the Add button. Click OK, and the video event effects window loads the effects. Start with sepia. We'll do something slightly different. We'll change the color towards violet or purple, add half the strength, and increase the fall-off by a quarter. You can toggle the effect to see a before and after. As for the blur, we'll decrease the range, or you could choose the light blur preset. The result is looking pretty good so far, but I've realized that we could benefit from a drop shadow on the top event. To switch to the top event's effects, click its effects icon. Go to the video effects window, select the creative category, and choose the layer dimensionality effect. Let's use the preset with the drop shadow and downlight. These presets are simply settings, so let's refine the shadow. Grab the light widget in the video preview and adjust the shadow until it's at a 45-degree angle. You could have also made the change in the controls using the light location setting. To show how flexible the workflow is, I've now decided that the corners of the background are too bright. In the Video Effects tab, I'll look down the list of effects and add a vignette to the background. The Video Event Effects window updates with the background event, and the vignette effect is added after the tinting and blur effects. Let's increase the feather until those corners are darker and our eyes are drawn more towards the center of the composite. You can keep adding more effects, bouncing between different events, and tuning the look until you're happy with it. The last thing I'd like to point out is the opacity of the events. This does become an important factor when blending multiple layers of video. Hovering the cursor in the center of the top event, you will see an opacity widget. All events will have this function. Clicking and dragging it up and down will change the opacity or transparency of this event. The top is 100% opaque, and 0% is totally transparent. This widget also controls the volume for an audio event, but we'll get to that in a later video. You might not need to change the transparency of an event all the time, but this is super useful when fading events in and out. To fade in the top event, go to the top left corner of the event and you'll see the fade cursor. Drag it right until you have a half a second fade in. Repeat the same process to fade out the event. Go to the top right corner and drag a half a second fade out. You can also right-click on any of the fades, and using the menu, you can change the fade type. Move the timeline cursor to the beginning of the composite and play the result. Remember that nothing is locked in and everything is editable. You can still edit the effects, and you can also trim the events longer or shorter. The effects and the fades will adjust accordingly. In the next video, you'll learn how to crop an image and how it differs from the picture-in-picture effect. See you shortly.